Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. So, I don't know about anybody else, but when I first started out looking at how to care for curly hair, I was just lost in a sea of jargon. So I thought what I would do is put together just a little glossary of the most commonly used curly girl terms. Here we go. First one that I see asked a lot is, what does CG or CGM stand for? Quite simply, it stands for curly girl or curly girl method. I also see asked a lot, what does co-wash mean? A lot of shops sell products labelled co-wash, so people think, do I need to go out and buy a specific product? No. Just make sure you're using a curly girl approved conditioner and giving your scalp a good scrub for around 3 to 5 minutes. When curly girls refer to a cast, that's the hard shell that forms on the hair after drying. Those of us over a certain age will remember the crunchy 90s hair after applying liberal amounts of your mum's mousse. If only we'd known then what we know now. That leads me on to SOTC. I see that get asked a lot. What does that stand for? That stands for scrunch out the crunch. Although the name has scrunch in the title, it's not actually necessary to scrunch your hair to break that cast. I personally use praying hands, where I smooth my hands over my hair. I find that helps break the cast a lot more gently, and it does help reduce frizz. Other people like to do clap out the crunch, where they just gently clap their hair to break the cast. Now, not to be confused with SOTC, STC stands for SQUISH to CONDISH. This is a really good way of ensuring that your hair is properly hydrated with conditioner, and it's also a good way of forming clumps. When I squish to condish sometimes, I take water in my hands and I just give my hair a really good scrunch and make sure that that conditioner is really squeezed into my hair. So I just mentioned clumps. What's a clump? This is a clump. It's just a term for a group of hair that forms a curl. It can be really easy to see people on social media with big juicy clumps and think that you're doing something wrong because your hair doesn't clump. As long as you have a group of hair that forms a curl, that is a clump. Not all clumps are big, juicy, bouncy curls. If you see a curly girl talking about plopping, chances are she's not talking about what happens after you have a big curry. Plopping your hair refers to, quite literally, flipping your head upside down and plopping it onto an old t-shirt, then wrapping it up. It's a good way of helping curls form. Now, some people's hair doesn't agree with plopping. It gets quite squashed at the back of their heads, so a good compromise for that is the micro plop. You might have seen me doing it in some of my other videos. All you're doing when you micro plop is holding a t-shirt in your hand and just gently squishing your hair. I find micro plopping really helps my curls spring back. The term buff, when talking about curly hair, doesn't refer to Chris Pratt or Henry Cavill. Buff is just a cylinder piece of fabric that is a way of protecting your hair at night whilst you sleep. Finger coiling is a styling method that just helps train your curls to form. When I finger coil, I pinch the hair at the end and then slowly roll it up to the scalp and then gently unwind it. It's a really good way if, like me, you've got a mixture of waves and curls. It just trains your hair to look a bit more uniform. The praying hands method, as I've mentioned before, is when you put your hands together like you're praying and gently run it down the lengths of your hair. It's a good way of scrunching out the crunch, and it's also a good way of applying your products whilst your hair is wet. It helps smooth down any frizz that might be springing up during styling, and it's also a good way of helping those clumps form. A refresh is what it's called when you restyle your hair in between wash days. Some days I don't refresh my hair, some days I'll just do a quick refresh, other days I will do a full wet refresh. Refreshing your hair in between wash days can just help stretch them out if, like me, you're lazy and you don't like to wash your hair too often. A pineapple is a loose ponytail on the top of your head, which is how quite a lot of curly girls protect their hair whilst they sleep. It just keeps it off the back of the neck and stops it getting tangled overnight. The last one I'm going to talk about is an ACV rinse. I've seen a lot of people asking, what does ACV stand for? It stands for apple cider vinegar. You can get it in most health food shops and shops like Home Bargains and B&M. If you get apple cider vinegar with the mother in it, it's a brilliant way of clarifying your hair and removing product buildup for those of you who don't want to shampoo. So those are some of the most common terms that I've seen people asking about. I hope that's cleared it up. Let me know in the comments if there's any I've missed. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to see more content. And I will see you soon. Bye bye! You can't... Quite simply... I've said quite simply twice. Cause... What's the best conjunction to use? This sometimes gets confused with the acronym and then gently fluff it up. So those are some of the most common terms that I've seen. So those are the